All right, everybody, I am back with a brand new DC update. Yes, I had a little bit of time here to do a second video, and I told you if anything big happened, I would report on it. And we're going to talk about Joker Folie à Deux and the reviews that are coming out for this movie and what it will mean for Warner Brothers. And also, I have a quote from somebody in regards to the Superman film, and we're going to talk about what that means for the DCU going forward. And we're going to see if the audience is actually interested in this or not. And tomorrow, I think I may do a video on what I think should have happened and what my hopes are as an adult who has grown up with these characters, what I would love to see. But I am on the road to 20,000 subs, and I can only get there with your help. So if you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you will be notified if new videos go up. If you're a longtime viewer and you have not subscribed, what are you waiting for? And for people who are new here, please take the time to subscribe, and that way you won't miss a video. Also, I am thinking about changing my microphone to a professional, well, not even a professional. This is an uber professional microphone that I use for my voiceover business. But I am thinking about getting a more personal podcasting type microphone to use in front of me like a lot of other people do. If you guys like the format I'm currently using, I can stay this way. Or if you want that more personal, up-close sound that I could do with a USB microphone, let me know what you guys would like to see. All right, so let's jump into these photos here. First off, we have Total Film and Discussing Film both chiming in after the premiere of the movie today. Part courtroom movie, part behind bars romance, Joker Folie à Deux is a bold departure from its predecessor that's also far less effective. Read our full review of the Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga star following its Venice Film Festival premiere. Okay, so they actually pulled this tweet shortly after doing it. And my guess is that this movie picks up right where the first one left off. He's in jail, ends up meeting her for the first hour. They have this romance there in Arkham, and then he ends up having his court date, and we go from there. Discussing Film said Lady Gaga's Harley Quinn in Joker 2 is a much more understated, less psychotic performance for the character, different from the comics, but fits this film's tone. So basically, she's not Harley Quinn, she's a completely different character. IGN says, despite the best efforts of Joaquin Phoenix, Lady Gaga, and an opening hour set in Arkham Asylum, Joker Folie à Deux wastes its potential as a movie musical, a courtroom drama, and a sequel that has anything meaningful to say or add to the first Joker. So they're saying it pretty much falls flat, guys, that if you like the first one, this one probably is not going to build upon that or be anything special. The Hollywood Reporter says, Joker 2 review. For a movie running 2.25 hours, it feels narratively a little thin and at times dull. This sequel is built on more of a conceit than a solid story foundation. Wow. This is crazy. David Rooney said, even more than its predecessor, Joker Folie à Deux reduces the arch-villain to a hollowed-out product of childhood trauma and mental illness, which means there's little we didn't learn last time. Wow, that's pretty crazy. IGN, which I don't really respect their scores because they do some weird things. But if you're a gamer, you know what I'm talking about. But it says, despite the best efforts of Joaquin Phoenix, Lady Gaga, and opening hour set in Arkham. Okay, so that's where it comes from. It says, unfortunately, the DC sequel gets bogged down by a lengthy courtroom saga, which only keeps the dazzling Lady Gaga away from the spotlight, but centers the movie entirely around its own predecessor without doing or saying anything new. And they gave it a 5 out of 10. That's pretty crazy. So, guys, it's not looking good for the Joker 2. I've heard some people say that if you enjoyed the first one, this one's in tone with the first one, but doesn't offer anything amazing or anything new. You're just continuing that story, that there's nothing special about Lady Gaga's performance, and that this is just, them doing another Joker film with nothing new to add. Just basically one long movie, and that the story is over after that. That's kind of disappointing. You always want the sequels to do better, but it's rare that a sequel will do better than the original, and this may keep that up. I will be seeing this as soon as it gets released, so I will have my review as soon as it goes up. Now, let's talk about the DCU, because there is a quote I'm about to show you, and I don't know who this quote is attributed to or where it came from. I am going to show who posted it, but I don't know where the quote came from, and they don't give any details as to where it came from. So this may not be a real quote, but we're going to assume that this is what is happening. And I could tell you that by everything we've seen from the behind-the-scenes photos and the way that James Gunn has talked, that this is probably going to be the case. I bet this is 90% on the nose, but let's take a look. All right, so this comes from Jamie, JM Film Lover 101 on Twitter. He said, "This is everything wrong with modern comic book movies," and I would agree with this. He goes, "I also heard," well, this quote says, "I also heard that the new Superman movie is fantastic, and they are going all out," which is great. That part's awesome. This is where things get a little funky. It says, "It's a complete shift to hardcore sci-fi and fantasy, the exact opposite of Man of Steel. It's set in a world very different from ours and far removed from the DCEU. Heroes have been around for ages, and we'll see how it's affected this world's history and has shaped the DCU. The DCU will feature various projects set across different timelines, not just present day, so more in line with the approach of Star Wars than Marvel." Okay, here's what's crazy about this. This sounds like James Gunn is literally taking the Justice League Unlimited and turning this into a movie. That might be okay for a cartoon, but that's not what I want to see in a movie. And this would be Marvel 2.0. Marvel was way more sci-fi and fantasy than the DCU ever was. Now, the DCEU started to get more fantasy after Aquaman, and that's when everything went to crap. They got rid of that more serious tone, and all the more serious tone movies did better. Even Black Adam, which was more serious in tone, brought people back to theaters. But after that, it tanked again. It's pretty crazy that this is where they want to go with this, when everything that has been done in this genre has been beat to death and will become just another generic comic book movie. And in fact, with the way that this is starting out with Superman, there's going to be so many heroes and things in it that can this really be focused on Superman? That is the biggest question. Everybody wanted a true sequel to Man of Steel, which we never got to see, because in the next film, the studio made Zack Snyder do the Batman vs. Superman film. And it's just insane that we never got a true Man of Steel sequel. And now we're getting Superman back, a whole new, well, it's not even a true reboot, and that's another mistake by Gunn, by keeping some characters and not most characters, or not just doing a complete reboot. He would have been better off just doing a complete reboot, but then he'd have to get rid of Cena and the people that he liked and bring in all new people. And for the most part, he is. Not all people. I mean, Amanda Waller's going to be the same, Blue Beetle, all the projects that did terrible are the people that are going to stay in this world, which, again, just boggles the mind. There's a reason why those early comic book movies for the DCU did well, because it had a more serious tone that was different from what Marvel was doing. If you're going to go the route of what Marvel has done, you're going to lose your audience. There is no audience for these type of films anymore unless it's something special. There is nothing that shows that this is going to be special. I am very eagerly awaiting a trailer to see what this is going to look like. I don't want a sci-fi fantasy, all-out sci-fi fantasy type feel to it. I don't want it to be goofy, silly sci-fi fantasy. I don't. When I read DC Comics, I don't think of it as a sci-fi fantasy. I think of it more as an action, set in the real world with some fantasy involved. To think that they're going to go full on into this and make it just all in seems a little weird. In a whole established universe, something that everybody bashed on Zack Snyder for doing when he didn't even write those movies, guys. But we're getting it here. What do you guys think about this newest revelation, if this is true? Like, I totally see this happening. I honestly believe that Superman is going to be a goofier, sillier version than what we had with Christopher Reeves. He's going to be more happy-go-lucky, sillier, and that they're going to lean into this, that it's going to be more geared towards 15-year-olds than it's going to be for adults, which I think is a huge mistake, because somebody else pointed this out, and I thought this was interesting, that Adults go to see movies multiple times. Kids don't. Kids will see it once in theaters and then wait for it to go on streaming, whereas adults, if they like movies, they're going to go back multiple times. This is why they're having an issue with these movies, and that's why stuff like Wolverine, Deadpool and Wolverine does so well, because you've got the adults who went to see that multiple times. This, I think this is just shaping up to be a disaster. I don't want Marvel 2.0. I just don't. I don't think anybody does. What do you guys think about this? All right, guys, so I had to get this second video out with the reviews on Joker Folie à Deux and also the information regarding the DCU. This was my biggest fear going into this, that this is something James Gunn was going to do. We're going to get away from, something that's more grounded and real and just into complete fantasy into, it's just Marvel 2.0 is all it's going to be. And that's a shame, because that isn't it's what's killed the comic book genre. There are too many films like that. There was a reason why the DCU was successful when it first started, because it was something different. And then it evolved into comedy, silliness, and everybody dropped off. All right, guys, there's my second update for the day. I do appreciate the support. We will see you on the next video.